Muse. They are a very divisive band nowadays. Some people absolutely hate them, while others glaze them to no end. I personally am a lifelong Muse fan, as you could probably tell by the videos I have uploaded on this channel, since I was pretty much raised on them. But I can also recognize some of the shortcomings they've had across their career. Why do I mention this? Well, today I'm ranking all of their album openers from worst to best, even though absolutely no one asked for it. So strap in, because I'm gonna be japping a whole lot more than last video. And without further ado, let's go into our number 9 spot. I'm sure this pick comes as a surprise to absolutely no one. Now, I have a lot of mixed feelings on this album. When Will of the People first came out, I actually really enjoyed it, but over the years, as my taste in music has matured and evolved, my opinions on the album dulled a bit. I think there's a good bit of pretty awesome songs on here, mixed with some really bad ones. Case in point, the title track. Now, when this came out as a single, I thought it was a perfectly serviceable track, and that pretty much stuck all the way through to the album's release and beyond. Recently though, upon re-listening to it, my opinions on it have pretty drastically changed. First, you can't talk about this track without talking about its lyrics. Muse have always featured politics in their music pretty much since Origin of Symmetry, and slowly but surely these political themes have been used so much to the point of sometimes being grating, and this track is easily one of the biggest offenders of this. But it's not just that it has these political themes, it's also that it feels pretty half-assed and disingenuous because of the real-world actions, which is something I won't go in depth on, but I'll link this video by Harry Chris Robin below that I highly recommend and delves into the topic really well. As well as just really corny, especially in comparison to the writing in the past, which is kind of a critique to the album in general. This, coupled with the kind of just subpar instrumentation for music standards, makes this song a pretty unfun listen. I did not enjoy listening to it for this video. So it's safe to say that this track gets a 4 out of 10. Now we've gotten out of bad territory and more into just okay territory. Honestly, this track is carried by its second half in my opinion. It starts off kinda boring and dry and honestly just stays that way all the way through to about the halfway point of the track. Though that second half is really strong. I feel like if this song had been paired up with a stronger beginning, it would be a lot higher ranked on this list, but oh well. Besides that, I kinda feel like this track thematically doesn't work as the opener for Drones, as I feel that a track like Psycho or even Reapers would have worked as an opener, and Dead Inside would have just fit a bit more in the midpoint of the track list. In saying that, I don't really have any huge qualms with the track. It's painfully average until the second half kicks in and moves it up to a bit above average. Yeah. Dead Inside, I'm so sorry, gets a 6.5 out of 10. How do you like that? I'm getting to decimals. Okay, now we're talking about Algorithm. Re-listening to this track for this video honestly was a pretty pleasant surprise, since I haven't really listened to it in a super long time. Simulation Theory has always just kind of been one of those albums I saw just kind of mid upon first listen, so I never cared to revisit it outside of the standouts like Pressure and Thought Contagion and so on. So this track honestly threw me for a loop. It has a really nice synthy production, and it feels like its composition ramps up neatly from section to section. The writing here is also pretty decent, a bit on the nose, but it works just fine for this track honestly. The only two big criticisms I have are that the intro drags on a bit too much in my opinion, to the point of being a glorified solo section, and the fact that the writing is not as strong as even some songs on the same album. And saying that, I do still genuinely believe that this is a super solid track, and it legitimately surprised me in how much I had underrated it previously. I feel like I'm definitely gonna come back to this song every once in a while, as opposed to just a while ago where I was never really tempted to go back to it. But it does hold a lot more value than I initially thought it did. But yeah, it's pretty much just a 7 out of 10. So this might shock some people, but I'm not super big on the uprising hype train. Now, I will admit that I used to think the song was kind of mid purely because I found it super overplayed, which to be fair, it was for me. But now that I've given it much more breathing room over time and found myself re-listening to it properly for this video, I gotta say, I like it a whole lot more now than I used to. Listening to it more closely and paying close attention to the instrumentation proved really beneficial for me, because this track has a ton to offer beyond just its message. I love how every section follows the same principle of adding a part and or removing one to accompany it. It makes it a lot more complex musically, which has always been an aspect of old Muse that I love and really shines through on this track. It has a lot of layers, and I really found myself enjoying peeling back those layers and enjoying the musicality of it. There are also some gripes I have with the song, very minor. Uh, the message of the song, whilst being an overall good message and very strongly written, does fall a bit flat when you consider some of the talking points I had for Will of the People. You could argue that it does seem a bit unfair to take this into account for this song or for the other, but it definitely does pop into my head when I'm listening to it and does hinder my listening experience just a little bit, which does is gonna affect the scoring on it. However, I still believe this is an amazingly solid track and easily a standout on the Resistance album. I really underrated it. Used to underrate it. But yeah, I give it a solid good 8 out of 10. Alright, I'm gonna be honest. I had a really tough time picking my number 4 and 5 spots. It was way tougher than I thought it was gonna be, simply because I kind of enjoy them just about the same, and I had a tough time deciding which should be which. However, I decided to go with Supremacy off of the Second Law for my number 5 spot. The most accurate way to describe this track is just epic. I love the James Bond type of feel it has. It's super badass. The verses build up perfectly to the huge choruses. The solo fits the song super well, and the outro to the song just goes so hard. It has so much energy. You also can't forget that killer riff, easily a top 10 Muse riff of all time. You really just can't go wrong with this song. It's one of the many standouts on the Second Law, and overall, it's just super freaking hard. It just goes so hard. It's amazing. So much energy. The riff, I glazed over the riff so many times. I included it in my top 10 Muse riffs video, which you should check out. Maybe not. It's kind of outdated. I might remake it. Who knows? I'm not gonna tease anything. But yeah, it's honestly just amazing song, right? I give it a good 9 out of 10. Absolution is a near flawless titan of an album, with nearly every song on it being rooted in conspiracy by nature and having a very end of the world energy to it. And no track on it encapsulates that more than Intro. Nah, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I think Apocalypse Please is probably the best representation of the point I was making earlier on this album. Everything from the lyrics literally being about the world ending to the instrumentals really honing in on that theme. I love how the piano parts feel almost desperate, like someone is in a panic because how Matt hits the keys. It suits the track extremely well and helps give the track that existential feeling. The instrumental interludes with the electronics also sound like something you'd hear while watching one of those time-lapse videos of a city just going to ruins, which I just think is awesome. This track also features an awesome vocal performance from Matt and one of Dom's most energetic performances on any Muse track. It works perfectly with this album's narrative and is a perfect opener for this album specifically. And I honestly, I should give this track more listens. I don't go back to it as much as I really should, but man, it really is an amazing track. And overall, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Black Holes and Revelations is not just my favorite Muse album, but genuinely just my favorite album of all time. Every single track brings something different to the table that the others don't, while still being cohesive. And the opening track, Take a Bow, is a great example of this. This track is sonically more rooted in a classical music type of style and having those classical influences, whilst simultaneously having an electronic synthy experimental sound, and it's absolute ear candy. This also heightened by the fact that that description that I just gave is for the first half of this track that builds up to the second half that has the whole band just coming in and has so many layers of instrumentation that all contribute to the track positively without feeling overwhelming, and it's just amazing. The track lyrically speaks to corruption and how it's very negatively impacting the world, a message that obviously is so super relevant today, as there's countless examples of people in power today that abuse their power. Though I'm not going to name any examples because this is not a political channel. Overall, I really believe that this song starts off the album insanely strong, and it really speaks to the quality of this album that I don't really necessarily believe that this is a standout on it, because every single track keeps up with this level of songwriting, albeit in different ways throughout the whole rest of the album. It really, yeah, it's honestly amazing, and I've gotten back to this track so many times across the years, but yeah, this track is just a genuine masterpiece and easily a 10 out of 10. When I first listened to Origin of Symmetry, it didn't really stand out to me all that much compared to other Muse projects. Obviously that's changed now, since it's easily a top 3 Muse album for me. However, even back then, one track that always stood out to me was Newborn. It's a really energetic start to the album, as it starts off really softly with the keys and Matt singing, and eases you into the bombastic bass line for this track that just goes insanely hard. The verses are super strong too, keeping the energy from the rest of the song with some other amazing bass lines from Chris. The choruses are an obvious highlight, as they're really energetic and catchy, and they don't lag behind the rest of the song. The solo featured in this track is also really sick and fits perfectly into the track whilst not feeling dragged out. All in all, this really just sets the tone for the rest of the album perfectly, mixing the energy that's present within it with its more moody elements perfectly. It's really just great. An amazing track to listen to if you're trying to work out or do something that you want energy while doing. All in all, it's yet another 10 out of 10. Alright, now some people may call me crazy for this pick, and that may be valid, but hear me out. Sunburn is diabolically underrated. It's extremely moody, yes, but it's such an awesome track. Sonically, the song is beautifully composed, with some incredibly haunting piano lines leading the track, One of the best Chris Holstenholm bass lines. Seriously, the dude just doesn't miss. An awesome vocal performance for a very young Matt Bellamy. A great and energetic solo towards the middle section of the track. Great melodramatic writing and performances, and so much more that goes into this track. Really, this was a showbiz standout for me since I first heard it, and it sucks that it gets so overlooked. Not even just in the grander scheme of Muse's catalog, but even within this album. Because this is genuinely a top 10 Muse song for me. Matt's vocals at the outro section genuinely give me chills every single time I listen to this track due to just how raw they sound, which is not something I get with many other Muse songs. I also gotta give a huge shout out to some of the live versions of this track for replacing the guitar solo with a piano solo that just goes insanely hard for no reason. Honestly, I think I've rambled on enough about how much I love this track, and it's safe to say that it's like a 20 out of 10 track for me. It's genuinely a top 10, debatably maybe even a top 5 Muse song for me. It's amazing, beautifully melodramatic, and even though there's so much that goes into my love for this song that honestly, if I could, I would make a whole video on it. It's genuinely just a masterpiece of a track, even for early Muse, which was obviously a bit underdeveloped compared to the rest of their career. But yeah, like I said, 10 out of 10, 20 out of 10. I guess a big 20 out of 10 price for being the number 1 spot in this video. Outro? Well, guys, that's about it. Did you agree with me? Did you disagree? Did you just not care? Let me know down in the comments below. Let me also know down in the comments if you want to see any other bands specific with this format, or maybe if you want me to rank some band's discography in terms of like albums, EPs, all that stuff. I really been wanting to do some of that kind of stuff, but time crunches. I barely have time to record. As a matter of fact, I scripted and recorded this video like a month ago. I'm actually re-recording the outro super late because I just haven't had time to properly edit the video until now. But yeah, I don't know. I really do want to do more of those types of videos, but they do take more time and effort than just these little song reviews that I'm doing. But I am gonna work on some more of those ideas. Damn, speak. So if there's any bands, artists, or like any sort of ideas you want specifically, let me know down in the comments below. I'm always open to suggestions. I'm working on some new original music that should be out maybe by like late October, early November, maybe. No promises. I don't know. I don't even know if y'all are hype like that about it, but I don't know. I'm really I want to focus more on like doing content for the channel, but it is really hard. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really dragging this outro out. So yeah, if you like the video, you can press like on it, I guess. If you want to subscribe, stay tuned for more like music content that I do like this, then you're more than welcome to. You can check out all my original music on this channel. You can check out my music covers. You can check out this all similar style video that I did on the Strokes just a few months ago. You can check all that out, and you can stay tuned for more content in the future. And yeah, that's about it. Hope you guys have a nice day, night, whatever, wherever time zone you're at, or whenever you're watching this video, and see ya.